Oh, I tried looking up if I made a video about this, but I couldn't find anything. Though maybe I addressed it in like something about dating, but I think the point still stands the same. So yeah, there's no video actually in this one, no video footage or anything. So you can just listen, whatever. I will talk about how I dealt with one of my biggest issues, which was simply struggling with loneliness, and specifically it's male loneliness, because the majority of male people are lonely as it currently stands, which is unfortunate. But this often led me to some sort of anguish because it was destroying my life, being lonely and being quote unquote unattractive. And I struggled with this for almost over 2 years, and it got so bad that I went to A&E, which is basically emergency services here in the UK. They've got something else in other places. Um, but it's because I was having suicidal thoughts around it, and so they sent me there, and they couldn't do anything. They essentially just told me to fuck off, and I'm actually traumatized by it now. And for anyone going through the same thing, just do not ever accept emergency help. It's just bad. I'm not even going to go there when I get a physical injury because it's just bad. But the thing is, this is what happens when people do not understand these issues. I've posted about this countless times about how most of the world can accommodate you if you're struggling with loneliness, and people haven't taken that advice. So, you know, you reap what you sow, and that's generally how the world works. But I think more importantly is we need to understand that male loneliness is common, and it's probably only going to get more common as we go through time. And I say that because some of the only genuinely nice male people are actually the lonely ones, and unfortunately, I'm not going to put a blame on any one gender for this. There's certainly faults on both sides, but the main thing is that we're not teaching people how to essentially mingle in the world. And I know this myself, being a quite autistic guy. I'm 27 now, and it's painful being able to communicate. And essentially, my anguish came mostly from not being able to communicate and sustain relationships or even friendships for that matter. So that was killing me inside, and that caused so much anguish. Like, as I said, I went to A&E, and I've also cut myself a few times. Some of it I didn't even report because it's just like, if I die, I don't care. I literally got that bad. Even this clicking sound, I don't know what it is. Damn ADHD. But I think this is a common problem, possibly, and it's not even talked about. Um, Getting distracted by shit. Right, stop looking at stuff. Yeah, loneliness is a real struggle, and only recently I've been able to come to terms with it. And one day, essentially, I'm going to have to sort of find a new way to deal with it, because the only people I'm sort of staying in contact with in my life regularly are family members, as I'm sure most people with decent family do. Um, Luckily, I have a few people who will grow up with me and possibly even outage me. If that's even a word, outage. Um, Outgrow. That's probably it. Um, yeah, I reckon I'm very fortunate for that. So that's something for the future, really. But as of how I handle it now, with not having a relationship or even really friends for that matter, I only stay in contact with like one of them at the moment. Well, actually, technically two, but I've had others and just not really said hi or anything in months. Some even years, I think. But one of the things I have to remember when I'm talking to people is to always be cheerful. And this is easier to do when you're behind a screen, admittedly. It's probably easier to do even on the phone. I did it once actually, before I went for my mental health examination. It was with one friend. It's quite easy to do for the most part. There can be some difficulties. But yeah, it's always important to do that, even if you're not trying to get into a relationship, because it could one day lead up to good things, really. And I also used to struggle with the anguish of being a virgin, and that was a big thing as well. And I'm pretty sure that's common for most people now. But I dealt with that in other ways. Basically, found toys, found porn. Like, those are two great things that are easily accessible, and you just get over like relationship stuff by using that. That's how I dealt with the anguish of being a virgin. And essentially, I just fantasize my way through it, and it works. Well, I imagine I'm some fucking, it's weird to say, but some fucking beast in bed or something that somehow men, women, or other desire and enjoy. But also sort of put selfless emphasis on it so it's not too one-sided. So I'm always like, oh, okay, you finished before me, or I finished before you, and yeah, I won't go into that much. So that's how I dealt with that though. The other thing which is really important now is relationships and friendships. And as I said, I don't sustain these online either. But what I do is essentially I put my heart into what I care more about, in a sense. I don't care about them more than friendships necessarily, but I put more of my focus onto these other things in life. And that helps me get through the anguish of being lonely. And actually, right now, I've been living in a house which has no one in it for, I think, 4 months now, 5 months. And for the most part, it's been great. I've been stressed out by my own shit, but it's been good. And I also am able to deal with it thanks to putting my focus on something else. Basically, I keep my life busy 24/7, so there's always something to do. I've got a list of things to do, and I'm not even sure if I'm going to finish them before I even reach 30, which is the crazy thing. There's like artwork, music. Recently got a treadmill, which I'm going to have to try and get into the routine of using, if I can use it, that is, and don't break it, because I'm heavy as fuck. What else? I've also got like future hobbies plans, like if I ever finish everything and have the time. I want to learn something in education, like language or science, like an area of science. Um, there was another thing, but I forgot what it was. Probably not that important though. That's where I'm essentially putting my heart. Don't know why I still get voice cracks. I'm 20 fucking 7. Why need to also talk to her about that? It's crazy. Yeah, it's just about putting your heart into something that you care about and want to succeed in. I think that's really important. I've even taken up playing guitar because I want to have a reason to have these guitars and not just a decoration or something that I'll pick up every now and then. Because I think consistency is exactly what you need to sort of become successful in things. And here's a fact that I don't know if I've ever said much. I'm not sure if I even said it in the video about how I overcame my faults and stuff. But I didn't start any of these hobbies until a few years ago. I did them on and off before that. I started by writing fan fiction. Now I started making artwork, which wasn't really artwork, it was just tracing and adding graphics to it. And then I started doing free-handed artwork where I just copy or use inspiration to make it. And one of my rules with that actually is to never directly trace anything unless I can make it untraceable, which means that someone can't trace that to something that I traced. That's basically what that means. Unless it's like a meme or a reference, which most of the time you'll see anyway, but it's not usually a direct copy. But yeah, and I've evolved that over the years, and only until a few years ago, I started making artwork almost daily for an hour a day, whilst watching something on the side because of my ADHD, because it's easier to focus, and I'm not bored out of my head doing art, even though it can be fun sometimes, but it's also a struggle. Like a big project I'm currently working on is a fan art project for the Ozcast and Jingle Cats. That's going to be a fun one, if they even look at it. I doubt many will, but I hope there's a mega thread or something on one of their community places where people can watch the rest. I genuinely think I've got a decent idea, and that's why I've finally been able to make one. I spent the past like 10 years enjoying their Jingle Cat stuff, and yeah, I think it's time I give back and also do something that's sort of like thank you for the Oscars and stuff, with plenty of references and stuff in store. Speaking of which, did I write that down? Nope, I don't think I did. Yeah. Yeah, I've basically got the artwork open now. It's going to take a while, I think. I'm going to fully commit to it over this month. Anyway, I've done artwork, it was music as well, because I noticed before I was even committing to artwork, I was actually making some pretty decent music, looking back at my old like tablature and midis and stuff. Even my Rocksmith custom DLC, which I often tab by ear because nobody had previously learnt it by ear, and well, I say learnt it by ear, but nobody's really learnt it, and it sort of works. And it's really there to give the sort of baseline of, not baseline as in bass, but the foundation of sheet music or learning a song, and that's where my music stuff started. It actually started all the way back in 2016, I think, and it's evolved ever since. I even made one of the hardest tracks ever in Rocksmith 2014, which is Periphery Race Car. It's an insane track. It's like 16 minutes of metal, and it's a really good song as well, but it's got so many things going on. It's got like time signatures and techniques that are changing, and tempo to an extent. And the crazy thing is that nobody had made this before. So I thought, okay, I'll do this, and within about 2 weeks I managed to make it. It became a reality, and I had to do so much tab editing and tone changes and stuff, and making sure it was all synced as well. That was the toughest bit. Like a 15-minute song you have to sync for 3 different arrangements. It's fucking crazy. Yeah. But those days are over because I'm just focusing on music. I did try to come back once, but the fucking software doesn't work. And that's really the only thing that stops you. I didn't mention this before, like overcoming faults. But sometimes it's just a wall you can't climb over, so instead you have to find a way to get through it, or find a different thing, really. A different hobby. A different way to explore the hobby in that matter. Like, I gave up Photoshop for Clip Studio Paint, and that was one of the best choices I've ever made. Because Clip Studio Paint didn't crash all the time. It seemed to be mostly friendly to users, other than the stupid microtransactions it has. Also, possibly being always online, I don't know about that though. Didn't go for GIMP or GIMP as it says, because it doesn't offer me the things that Clip Studio Paint would, like animation and stuff. But yeah, And with like music, I evolved from tablature to digital audio workstation. And really, the next evolution in music is just finding something that I can record actual instruments on, and that'll be fun. And that's because I'll get to use my guitars and stuff. It should be pretty awesome. Um, well, so, yeah, started writing reviews about stuff. That was something I did a few years ago, and I think it seems to be pretty effective. I do like summary reviews now because I don't use Divine Eye anymore because they're AI shit. They won't let you control. But the review stuff is quite handy as well because sometimes I have something to look back on to sort of note down. Also, I started writing a journal. I do an insane amount of things each day. It's a wonder that I get anything done, to be honest. I'm surprised myself. Yeah. That's sort of going a bit off topic, but it is related. But that is generally the way I deal with loneliness. I just make my life busy and set my heart on things that I want to do. It's actually at the point now where after I do this big project I'm currently working on, I'm going to be making a webcomic series and possibly put it into shorts, like YouTube shorts, which will possibly blow up, I don't know. But I'm basically trying to make something that is inspired by the things in life that have made me happy and also surprised me. And it's things like TV shows like The Simpsons and Futurama and things that I've experienced in life as well to an extent that I'll make serious topics as well. Just to make sure that my voice is heard in a sense, but I'll start with the funny stuff, I think. That's something that people will need, especially now with the situation in the US. I think it has the potential to be a really interesting series, and I'm not necessarily going to be able to voice it. I probably might need help for that, but that's something for the future, I suppose. I'm really looking forward to making the series because it's basically a dream I've had. It's not necessarily the dream I've had, but it's a dream of some sorts. Because my actual dream was a game. I basically was inspired by Toby Fox and I wanted to make a game that was appealing to me, gameplay wise and graphically, without being a stupidly fucking high end sort of Unreal Engine 5 basically tripe. I call it tripe because, let's be honest, super realistic graphics overrated now. Games have ruined them and it's just not good. I'll just go back to basics with a good art style and that's it. But I'm gonna have to put that into animation for now. Maybe it could become a game later because of the sort of scope that this entire thing is. But yeah, I think there's potential in this, and this is also advice on how to sort of achieve your dreams. You do have to set aside things that might help you and might be important, but it's kind of worth it in the long run because it could take you to some great places. And the other thing is pushing yourself to your limits as well without breaking yourself, because that's important. Because if you break yourself, it might take time to repair, and that's what's important about some of this, really. You can focus on something, but if you're pushing yourself to death, it probably will result in death. That's no exaggeration. Yeah, I think that's all the advice I've got, to be honest. The only other thing is something I actually heard recently from watching Invincible Season 2, which I didn't even know was out until a few weeks ago. But one of the things that genuinely surprised me was a bit of advice that this old guy gave to Mark. I can't remember who the old guy was. It was basically about him and his girlfriend. Sorry, spoilers. But making all the time they have together count whilst he's busy. And that's just like some of the best advice I've ever heard, just in general. And I think it applies to everything really, everything you're passionate about. Like if you want to be a fucking hero, like sure, you have to make it count. Um, or maybe you just want to become the world's greatest porn star. I don't know, but you have to make that count as well. It's those sort of things because life is unfortunately short, and you never know when death is around the corner. It's like, God, this is some blatant foreshadowing for my life. But anyway, yeah, it kind of gets dark the more you think about it, but making it count is what's more important than worrying about when it's coming. Like when death is around the corner or whatever, or tragedy. So yeah, I think that's also great advice. Has got me thinking a lot, and weirdly enough, not many shows make me think a lot. It's just one of those things, I see a story, I react to it there, don't think about it. But sometimes they're so good that I think about them even after they're done. Yeah, thanks for watching or listening even. Just in case, yeah. I do hope this helps because I think this is a topic I feel quite strongly about and feel like could help people. But I don't want people suffering, and that's been one of my sort of focuses for a while. I just don't like seeing suffering anywhere. Yeah, thank you for watching, subscribe, like, comment, whatever, don't mind. I'll see you in another video, possibly, or another audio.